check, 1, 2, test.
Every citation that you need? We don't have your citations. You have them? Okay. Do you want me to introduce you, and then you'll talk about the choir?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
And then I ask her to sit and get a list.
What do you want? Oh, that would be great. All right. Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Before we begin our regularly scheduled board meeting, we have some people that we are honoring this evening, and to kick things off, I'd like to introduce Senior Councilwoman Dorothy Gooseby.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Tonight is a very, very special night, and I am thrilled to sing the praises of the rhythm of the Knights Uniondale Show Choir. They have performed at several competitions, including most recently a national competition in Chicago. You have made the community of Uniondale proud, as well as the town of Hempstead. The television show America's Got Talent is nothing compared to the extremely talented and entertaining show choir made up of students in ages ranging from 14 to 18. The group was named the grand champion at the 2018 Choir National Finals in Chicago, and in April, they beat 6 other teams. See? They won the Show Choir Cup, and you should see it's a big cup. I wish you had it here. And awards for the best vocals, the best choreography, the best male vocalist, best female vocalist, best male stage presence, best show design, and the best original selection. Prior to the Nationals, they won 6 awards, including for the second year in a row, the top honor of the grand champion at the invitation-only Show Choir America competition in Orlando, Florida. The students spend 6 hours a day practicing for all of that they do, and we're so proud of them. Really proud. I am especially proud. The show choir is led by Director Lynette Carr Hicks. She also, that's her. And she teaches at Uniondale High School, of course, many courses, so we won't go into those. But she was just named Teacher of the Year by Barnes and Nobles because of the kids who nominated her. And that's how much they love her. And usually at Christmas time, if you turn on your television on Channel 5, Channel 7, and if you go to Lincoln Center, you will have the opportunity to see them there because they perform every place. And certainly always from here for me at Kwanzaa, so make sure you come. Okay? They have been on Broadway, and because of the wonderful, wonderful work that she's done and gotten these kids to the point where they have so much presence and love themselves and know what they can do, that they are now, some of them have formed their own group and now appearing on various shows on Broadway. So that's what we're doing for Uniondale. Now, let's see. And it's, I'm skipping some of this because, you know, I got a lot of stuff here, but I'm not saying all of it. So now we have something very, very special. that no one else has, and may I have it. The American Theater Wings, the Tony Award, recognizes excellence in Broadway theater. And it's my pleasure on behalf of the town of Hempstead to present you the Rhythm of the Nights Unionville Show Choir with the Hempstead Town's Tony Award. I'm going to ask, you're already here, so I'm going to ask the students, a few students to come up. Some of them are not here because you know they're graduating and they're going to their prom. But I do have Latasia, Darnell, and Andy. Would you please come up? Supervisor, you want to come? You can come. You're going to come over here. All right. So stay right here. You can come up, Supervisor. What you want to say? Come up front. Okay. Do a little song for me, one song, so we're going to do one after
Okay,
this, right?
all right. Thank you, Councilwoman Gooseby, and thank you so much for honoring the Uniondale High School Show Choir Rhythm of the Night. And just like Councilwoman Gooseby has said, we are national champions and of 2018, so we rank #1 in the nation right now. So you got to give them a round of applause. So I'm going to give you a little bit really quick so you'll be surprised and you'll see our wonderful show choir again. On the Today Show, Hoda from the Today Show is going to come to Uniondale on July 10th, and she is going to be a part of Uniondale Rhythm of the Night. She's going to learn all the dance, the movements. She's going to be in wig, costume, and everything. And then after she does that and learn all our moves and singing, then we're going live on NBC between August 6th, 7th, and 8th. So please tune in, DVR it, and you'll see Uniondale High School Show Choir on the Today Show. We also will be performing this Friday with the group Foreigner at Jones Beach. So this Friday, yes. Singing there, one of their biggest hits, I Want to Know What Love Is. So we actually been doing this, we did it last year and a few years ago, actually in 2014. So they loved us so much that one of the managers gave a great recommendation about the show choir, and then we received a great call that they would love us to be on the Grammys in February 2019. But last but not least, again, Councilwoman Gooseby, she is phenomenal. She is amazing. She loves the choir as if it's her own kids. And I love that so much. And then she'll come on, Lynette, tell a little bit more. Tell everybody about what you guys do. And so we love her so much, and we thank God for her and really honoring our amazing show choir. Thank you. And she wants us to sing a little bit, so we'll sing one of the songs a cappella for you. Thank you. So you'll see few of the members sitting down. Actually, some of our band members, they came also, and our stage crew. Come on, show choir, come to the front. So the song that they're doing was one part of their competition. Our competition, we usually have to do a theme. Our theme was August Rush. If you've never seen the movie August Rush, it was about a young man who loved music and was very musically inclined. And he couldn't find his parents, but he said, one day I will find my parents. He was in an orphanage, so an orphan, and so therefore he was able to find his parents through music. So one of the songs was actually from the movie called Rise Up? Raise It Up. Now, I came up with this idea, but I forgot the song. Sorry. Raise It Up. Thank you.
Oh, you're talking to them. No father figure in the house, and I'm wondering how I'm gonna work it out. Oh, my friends keep on telling me how I don't need that man, but they don't really understand. There's far too many pressures in reality, dealing with the pain, the stress, and poverty. And I gotta be myself because there's nobody else for me, no. Sometimes it takes a different kind of love to raise a child, but don't give up. Sometimes it takes a different kind of dream to make you smile. So please, sometimes you need another helping hand to show the way. But don't give up, hey. Sometimes it seems impossible, and that's why we pray, we pray. Daddy didn't want to be by myself. Where is love? Just give up. Life falls down on me, cuts into my soul. But you know I got the strength to make it through it all. 'Cause I'm still standing tall. Breaking through these walls, I'm gonna give my all. I'm feeling like a motherless child. Pain cuts into my soul. It's beating me down, can't find my smile on the face of a motherless child. Gonna break down these walls, gonna give my all, you know. Yeah, 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 yeah. Sometimes it takes a different kind of love to raise a child, but don't give up. Sometimes it takes a different kind of dream to make you smile. So raise. Sometimes you need another helping hand to show the way, but don't give up. Sometimes it seems impossible, and that's why we pray.
All right, well, thank you so much, the Uniondale Show Choir. What a great way to start a board meeting. Are you available on July 3rd? So in addition to those talented young men and women, we also tonight are kicking off our Summer of Love free adoption event, which gives us an opportunity to thank some people who really donate so much of their effort and their time and do such good work for us. We have one of the largest municipal shelters in the country, and with approximately 150 volunteers, we have one of the most robust volunteer programs anywhere on Long Island. And while so many of our great volunteers deserve awards, tonight we are going to single out a few of our volunteers who have gone above and beyond to service our animals. So first we have Chrissy D'Angelo. Chrissy is... So bit about Chrissy. Chrissy is from North Belmore, and she's been an active volunteer at our shelter since 2014. And she's known for working with some of our shelter's toughest cases, from their introduction to the shelter through adoption. She fosters sick kittens and cats very often. More recently, Chrissy spearheaded an effort with other volunteers to raise money for Corunda beds for the shelter's dogs and cats, and then helped organize the construction and the transportation of the beds to the shelter. Thank you, Chrissy, for all your amazing good work. Next we have Bill Nussbaum, who... So Bill has been volunteering at our shelter for over 3 years and is the personification of service. Bill served our country in the armed forces, and now he continues his service to the community by working with the cats in our shelter. Bill has spent countless hours focusing on our cat population, getting to know each of our cats by name, and fostering on their individual care. Thank you, Bill, for your really fine efforts at our shelter. Next, we have Leslie Bronstein of Levittown. Leslie has been a volunteer since last April and has been volunteering at our shelter every single day. She regularly hosts donation drives for the shelter each year, including at the beginning of this year, where she held a Nylabone collection that ended up collecting bones for 140 of our shelter's dogs. This year alone, Leslie has donated more than 500 hours of her time to our shelter. Thank you. Next, we have Mike Maloney. So Mike has also been a volunteer since April of 2017 and constantly dedicates himself to the care of our animals by maintaining a consistent walk and exercise schedule for many of our dogs. His efforts are truly appreciated. Mike has this year so far racked up over 450 hours of service to our shelter. The dedication and commitment to the welfare of our furry friends is truly commendable and worthy of our town's highest praise. We hope these awards will not only express our gratitude for all that you are doing, but to inspire you to continue your work at our shelter and to inspire others to follow in your footsteps. Thank you again. We have one more. Finally, the town board would like to recognize the Bonomo family. And especially Brendan, Caitlin, and Brianne. So, the Bonomo family is a great family that does a lot for our community. Besides adopting a dog from our shelter last year, Brendan, Caitlin, and Brianne used their creative talents to paint pictures of our adoptable cats and dogs at the shelters so visitors can see what animals are available. They are absolutely heartwarming, add a lot of cheer to our shelter, and help our furry friends find forever homes. Here's some of their artwork. Come on up here. Let's
great singers.
So we got 16 on the woodmeter,
Okay.
admin, and then miscellaneous.
But I understand all 16.
All right, good evening. Welcome to this regularly scheduled town board meeting. For those of you who have never attended a meeting before, we will first have public hearings followed by an administrative calendar. There are meeting agendas in the rear of the pavilion. If you wish to be heard on any matter, please fill out a slip and hand it to one of our public safety officers. After the meeting is adjourned, we will remain in session to hear public comment on other matters. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Bazito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Here. Councilwoman Gooseby, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the first public hearing?
Proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Baldwin, North Valley Stream, and Oceanside.
I do not have any slips on this matter. Is there anyone who would like to be heard? Hearing none, will you please call the roll? Oh, sorry.
I move that the public hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Bizito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Lido Beach.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Supervisor, I move the public hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Bizito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, will you please call the next public hearing?
Proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Levittown, Seaford, and Wantagh.
I do not have any slips on this matter. Is there anyone who would like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Bizito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call our next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding fire zones in West Hempstead.
I do not have any slips on this matter. Is there anyone who would like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Move the public hearing be closed. Proposed local law adopted.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Bizito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. Madam Clerk, will you please call the next public hearing?
Proposed creation of a new Article 7B of the Building Zone Ordinance of the Town of Hempstead to be entitled GC Golf Course Coastal Residence District, GC, and setting forth regulations pertaining to possible residential redevelopment of certain existing private golf course properties.
Supervisor, if I may, I'd like to make a motion at this time to postpone this item indefinitely without date. Okay. I'm postponing this without date for a few reasons. First and foremost, the engineering report that we received was only received probably a little over a week ago. Not only has the town board not have the proper time to review it, but those that are sitting in the audience from the Five Towns Civic Association, from the Five Towns community, they also haven't had enough time to view it, to really understand it. We were also, they were also promised a community meeting immediately after we received and were able to review the report. Obviously, with only receiving it a little over a week ago, it would have been impossible to schedule a meeting, one that really gave everyone the opportunity to put their input in, to share ideas, and to really put the best foot forward for the Five Towns. Furthermore, there is a process, a secret process that's involved that we are required to give the adjoining villages and their boards time to review it, so they need time for that. And I've also conferred with our town attorney's office, as was discussed at our first community meeting, and as I've discussed speaking both to the media and to members of the Five Towns Civic Association. I am asking that the town attorney's office conduct a financial audit in order to really get an economic impact on what it would cost to make the property, specifically in Woodmere, into either a park district or a town of Hempstead park. I think that it's something that quite possibly we could all agree on. And I think that prior to making any decisions in the change of zoning, prior to making any decisions that would really impact the future of the 5 towns and create further traffic and problems with infrastructure. I think that we need to take everything into consideration, including either a park district, or something else that we come up after speaking to the community. So my motion is that we postpone this indefinitely without date until we've had enough time to speak to the community, speak to members of the board, and really make a quality decision in the best interest of all who call the 5 towns home. Thank you.
Councilman, I would ask you, would you agree to amend the motion so we put a control date on it so that we let the community know when it'll be back on the calendar again of, let's say, August 7th, which is 2 meetings from now, and that way there's more predictability and maybe it'll put everybody into high gear and try to finish it a little quicker?
Yeah, I think in the best interest of those who travel for the summer season, maybe we could do September. And I will change my motion with the caveat that if we haven't come to a conclusion and obviously aren't all in favor, that we postpone it again at that time.
You want to put it off till September 4th?
September 4th, that works. Let's do the second meeting in September.
What day is that? 20th.
So, all right, so my motion is we postpone the item until, what was it, September 20th?
Hold on one second. I just want to talk to council for a minute. Go.
Would it be better to do it at an evening meeting? Is it more people at night? Well, the next evening meeting is October 16th.
Even better.
October 16th is budget. October 16th is budget.
That's a budget meeting. We might be able to reschedule an evening meeting for the specific purpose, maybe?
Okay, so,
Excuse me, may I speak?
Yes.
We can always do that later instead of just trying to do it now. So then if you guys get together and you can give a date, will you let them know?
Yeah, you know, let's stick to my motion. I'll postpone indefinitely, and we'll let the community know when the meeting is.
At night. We'll try to make it night.
Fair enough?
I'll second it.
I have a number of slips of people who would like to be heard. Now we're going to be addressing the adjournment of this meeting. So if you'd like to be heard just on the adjournment of this meeting, which is the pending motion, Felix Procacci.
You enforce that for everyone, I'm sure, right? Felix Procacci, 1165 Barnes Street, Franklin Square, New York. I oppose adjourning this. I think that this should be tabled, actually. And what you adjourning it to doesn't make any sense because I didn't read the whole report, but I did skip over to the conclusions. And the conclusion says the overall impact and magnitude of these potential issues on the development of these golf courses is generally unknown at this time. As such, at a time an application is put forth, further analysis would be required to determine any potential impacts. These analyses could include archaeological investigations, ecological, and site-specific flood sea level rising model. I see no point in bringing this back and, you know, even having, I know and this is part of the adjournment, although, you know, you may disagree with it, the moratorium, because the only way, according to the engineers hired by the town, you know, the only way you guys could come to a logical conclusion based on data is for the developers to propose a plan and for that plan to be analyzed. Right now, what you're doing is you're short-circuiting the whole process. And I've read extensively, I'm not a zoning lawyer yet, but maybe a few more of these I will be. But I've read the state law, I've read the town law, and the process has not been followed. You know, there is a definitive process through, not only through law, but mostly through previous court cases. A lot of the tradition is based on court cases. I think the wisest thing this town could do is let the process go forward, let the analyses be done, look at the analyses, and see what the data tells you before you start jumping to a conclusion before you have data. Because this, like I said, it's page 17 of this.
Well,
I'll just say again, the overall impact and magnitude, the overall impact and magnitude of these potential issues on the development of these golf courses is generally unknown. That's the bottom line. There's no point in just discussing this ever again because it's unknown. You want conclusions. You want engineers who have analyzed this.
One thing that's known is that it would be catastrophic to the community if 277 homes went up there. The traffic is too heavy. There are environmental issues. There's flooding issues. There's a lot of issues. And what we need to do is we need to draw this to a conclusion at some point because we cannot go in ad infinitum. The developer has already sued us saying that our moratorium is illegal and that our moratorium has gone on too long. So we have to bring this to a conclusion sooner rather than later. And I would disagree with you. I think that the town is going by the process. We're doing all the studies. We're doing all the work that's necessary for us on the town board to make a reasonable determination as to what we should do, not only with the Woodmere Club, but with the other South Shore clubs that have the same issues as the Woodmere Club, such as the Middle Bay Club in Oceanside and the Inwood Club in Inwood. So.
Unfortunately, the law disagrees with what you just said. The moratorium.
Get in a debate on the law.
We won't have to debate on it. The law is very, very extremely clear. There is no. I'm not taking a side on this issue. I'm just telling you what the facts tell me. I read that entire lawsuit 3 or 4 times. I read state law. I looked at all the references, and I read the cases that the state law is actually James Calhoun who writes the manual for New York State, and he cites cases in which zoning law and the traditions are determined and how courts come to these decisions. And right now, whether you want to or not go along with it, the facts aren't in. Waiting 3 months, the facts still won't be in. Waiting 10 years, the facts will never be in, because until you have a proposed plan, you can't do an analysis, and your own people told you this in this report.
I know you'd like us to do nothing.
For.
You'd like us to do nothing.
Disagree with the facts. That's fine. Disagree with the facts.
You're not going to have 277 new homes in your neighborhood.
I am not arguing for or against 277 new homes. I'm arguing what the law says. That's all I'm arguing, what the law says and what this engineering report, which we paid a lot of money for, says. Now, if you're not going to respect the engineers you hired, I don't know who you're going to respect. I know you don't respect my opinion, but why don't you respect the engineers that you hired opinion?
Felix, if I may, Felix, if I may, you live where, in Franklin Square?
That's irrelevant.
I'm asking you, no, answer the question, yes or no. I live in Levittown. They live in the southwest part where traffic is hideous. And if you lived there, you wouldn't want this in your backyard.
I'm not arguing. Maybe I'm not clear. I am not arguing for or against it.
Sometimes you have to look at common sense as opposed to law. Common sense says, don't do it.
All right, again, we're speaking on the adjournment only. Robert Warren. Oh, Roberta. Sorry, Roberta Warren? No? Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Marion David, do you want to speak on the adjournment? Okay, right now there's a motion to adjourn this hearing, so that's what we're speaking about right now, just the adjournment. Yes, there'll be another public hearing on this matter, and there's going to be a public meeting as well. Today, no, this is the opportunity to speak on this unless you want to wait till public comment. Right now, we're just talking about the adjournment. There's a motion to adjourn the public hearing, and that's what we're addressing right now. If you would please just state your name and address for the record.
Yes. My name is Marion David. I live at 417 Yale Avenue in Woodmere. In terms of the adjournment, I feel that it definitely should be adjourned because we do not have all of the information that we should have. I prepared something and I want to read it so that it'll explain why I feel that way. I was here at the original hearing over a year ago. I was here again on May 8th, and I'm here again now. I don't love coming to these meetings. I'd rather be at home, except that I did enjoy the Uniondale Choir. But I feel it's my moral duty to show up for what is a quality of life and safety issue, not for myself, but for a whole community, not just one town or village, but 5. I don't live right by the area in issue. I live by Peninsula Boulevard in Woodmere. Whereas for most of the 49 years that I have lived in Woodmere, I would go to West Broadway or Broadway to avoid the traffic on Peninsula Boulevard. Now there's no place to go that is not heavily congested. Last week I was traveling on Broadway in the afternoon, right near where the golf course is. It was not on a Friday, it was on a Thursday, and I was in 10 miles per hour line of traffic for 20 minutes going from one town to another. And it wasn't because of an accident or school buses or cars that were stuck. Just plain traffic. On Monday at 12:30, I was in traffic on Central Avenue, which is 1 block north of Broadway. I have photos of flooding on the Woodmere Golf Course with me. I have experience in my own home with sewage backup from a heavy rainstorm, and it is no picnic being out of your home for 5 months. These are just a few of the potential issues. I'm not going into property values because that is not the issue now. The quality of life and safety for the whole community is most impacted and therefore most important. At the last meeting, you were told that there were a couple of hundred people at the meeting the night before at the Woodmere Academy. It was actually somewhere around 500 people. Walking around with petitions, I have them signed here, others and I got many signatures. Out of about 90 people I approached, 2 said no. 1 because she was a friend of the developer, and 1, a 20-year-old on a bicycle who said he wasn't sure if he was against it because he knew nothing about it. Most people couldn't get the pen fast enough to sign. There was an online petition with about 1,725 signatures. I have to tell you that there would have been hundreds more of us here tonight if not for graduations, a concert, and the Lawrence Village election, which is on until 9 p.m. tonight. We also believe that about $1 million of taxpayer money may have been wasted on an engineering company that took their time and also didn't get the community, and that the locations of the other clubs in Oceanside and Inwood are totally not similar to the location of the Woodmere Club. One is in a quiet neighborhood, and one is totally off the beaten track. So much for a valid report for about $1 million. I won't take more of your time, but please find some other way to utilize this beautiful property and find a way to get the lawsuit-happy developer off your backs and ours. We have to avoid a disastrous situation in Nassau County. Thank you.
Thank you. I have George Astadafis. Okay, thank you. Glenda Campton. Patricia Roblin.
My name is Patricia Roblin. I live at 33 Neptune Avenue in Woodmere. I'm basically 2 avenues away from the Woodmere Club, and my street actually is in the intersection of Broadway and then two avenues over to the Woodmere Club. I'd like to just thank you for the adjournment because we really appreciate it. And one of the things that I have to say is that not all these golf clubs are created equal and where they are. I'm an emergency manager for New York State, for State University of New York at Downstate, and also at Kings County Hospital as well. And I can tell you that I looked over the flood zone maps from FEMA, and the Woodmere Club is in a flood zone. I actually have the map here. I can send it to you by email. I can send you all the FEMA documents for that. And that is, you know, you have to look at these clubs individually. It's not just one size fits all. It's very nice that you got this engineering firm to do this, but I think that they need to look at it individually. I think that building on the Woodmere Club is a disaster in the making. I think it's absolutely absurd to build in a flood zone when we just have, you know, torrential downpours that the entire area floods. You can't build. I looked at the DEC reports. You can't build 300 feet from the coastline, so it's going to be chopped up. It's just absolutely absurd. But I do thank you for adjourning it because it does give us more time, and we can give you evidence, and we can get our attorneys actually to, you know, respond to your attorneys as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Isela Fishthal?
Hi, my name is Isela Fishthal. I live at 914 Hewlett Drive in North Woodmere. First, I agree with the adjournment. I absolutely do. But I'd like you to know I am a member of the Woodmere Club. And like Patty said, I have experienced firsthand the flooding that goes on there when I cannot play golf. Okay? So there is an issue. It must be resolved. But I do not, in any way, shape, or form, want you guys to think that by adjourning this, you're going to sweep it under the rug. Okay? You have to take care of this. Okay?
First of all, can I respond to that? What a lot of people don't know is that the members of the Woodmere Club voted on this transaction in secret.
Years ago.
It was a year and a half ago.
You've had years.
Excuse me, let me just finish. The Woodmere Club voted on this in secret. It was kept quiet, and it was only until Councilman D'Esposito and I found out about it that we did anything to stop it.
I beg to differ with that, but I can have, at the next meeting, members of the Woodmere Club to speak on that issue. Okay? So I just agree with you on that.
I just,
I can have members here.
The facts are the facts.
I don't know where you got your facts from, okay? But they're not my facts. I'm a member. I can tell you that. So let me just continue.
So you didn't vote? There wasn't a vote in secret?
There was no secret vote. There was a vote. It was not a secret vote. But that's not what we're talking about.
The clock is stopped. Can I just ask a question? It's just a question. I'm sorry. Thank you. When did the club vote to sell the property then?
That I do not have the date. That I'm sure you certainly have, and I can get that for you at the next meeting.
Well, no, we only have our facts. You said that they're different from yours.
I was not prepared with that information. Okay, but I will get that to you, and at the next meeting or prior to that. Okay, absolutely. But I personally think this whole matter was handled very poorly. You guys had ample time to look into it, to run this, to do this Cameron report. You received the Cameron report, a partial report, weeks ago. Yes or no? Wait, you received the report. No one did anything about it. You received the final report on Friday. Did anyone in the offices read it? Take the time?
When we received the partial report, we did do something. We had a community meeting, and we said that we were going to have another community meeting once.
The partial report on this Friday, 2 Fridays ago, no?
No, that was the final report, which wouldn't have given us enough time to have another community meeting.
You think we should adjourn this or not?
I do think you should adjourn, but I think you should do your job. I think we elected you guys to have our backs. I want you to have my back, not the back of somebody who's paying a lot of money for this community to build homes. That's all I'm saying. I'm giving you another chance. We're all giving you another chance. Don't screw up.
But we have had your back. We voted, ma'am, can I just say my piece? I listened to you. We do have your backs, which is why we.
How come I don't?
You want a hug? I'll give you a hug. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we have your backs. We have your backs. That's why we imposed the moratorium. The pretty much the moment we found out about it, we're being sued for having your back. So I think we are doing our part.
We can sue them back, okay?
I'm not arguing that.
My only point to you is about the adjournment. I agree, but in that time that we've given you, we ask you to please do your job and do it well on my behalf and their behalf. That's all. But I thank you.
Okay, Julie Perellas, would you like to be heard on the adjournment?
Hi there. I live on Eric Avenue, 35 Eric Avenue in Hewlett, right off Broadway. And I want to just point out, first of all, I'm totally in agreement with the adjournment. I thank you for doing that. I think really critical that we look at the environmental impacts, that we look at the other critical impacts from a safety standpoint, from a security standpoint, from a traffic standpoint, and so on, which we really haven't had a chance to see. I think one of the things I'd like you to think about is we are really unique in a few ways in terms of this Woodmere Club development. One of them is we have a very tiny roadway that leads into and out of this community with very little opportunity for building alternative access. And what we're looking at is a small road that's already highly congested leading into an area that's a flood zone. Just that alone, on the face of it, is tremendously problematic. On top of that, we are looking at a population that's aging. Many of us know, many of us are boomers. I'm a late boomer. We're looking at people getting older and thinking about what are they going to do in the future. Are they going to stay in Long Island? We got, we've got high taxes. What are they going to do? I can tell you that if they are afraid that the EMT vehicle that's going to save their life because they just had a heart attack or a stroke is not going to get to their house on time, that they are going to move out. And many of us are in this position thinking about whether we want to stay in Long Island. Is it viable for us to stay in Long Island? And issues like this, particularly safety issues, are critical. Critical. I am very concerned about a fire vehicle being able to get to my home on time. I already plan my schedule in terms of errands around traffic on Broadway. I know Friday afternoons are bad. I know there are many other times that are bad. And it's going to be very hurtful if our seniors decide that they want to up and leave our community. And the truth of the matter is that people will die. If we go ahead with a plan like this one, whether it's 77 or 244 homes, people's lives are going to be put at risk.
I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Maria Joseph, would you like to be heard on the adjournment? Oh, Mario, sorry. Rochelle Stern-Kevelson, would you like to be heard on the adjournment?
Rochelle Stern-Kevelson, 21 Causeway in Lawrence. I am for the adjournment. I have come many times before you, and I'm very sad because I don't feel that all of you are really, really trying very hard. It's sad. The speaker before me, she's right. There are a lot of older people, and Hatsala ambulances cannot get through. It takes a very, very long time from the Far Rockaway, Lawrence to Hewlett. It's dangerous. Tonight, in about 45 minutes, the Village of Lawrence is going to finish voting for a mayor and trustees. It's been a terrible, terrible election. 2 years ago, I ran for trustee, and the sample ballot, as you walked in,
Ma'am,
my name covered.
we are just talking about the adjournment of the hearing right now.
But Lawrence owns part of that land. It's next to it. And we were told this week they can have 70 homes, this could have 140 or whatever, and this could have this. So it's divided up. But
I understand your concerns, and we're adjourning, we're moving to adjourn the hearing so that you can have time, the members of the community can have time to digest the study that was done by Cameron. We have to complete the environmental review. It has not even been completed yet, so you need to have that information at your disposal as well. And then there needs to be another public meeting so you can continue to express the concerns that you expressed at the prior meeting and talk about them in light of the finalized plan and the environmental review. That's the purpose of adjourning the hearing. So you will have the opportunity to bring these things up again. So right now, we're calling people up to give them an opportunity to be heard on whether or not they think this meeting, the public hearing should be adjourned. So that's what we're trying to limit comments to at this point, because we're not having the public hearing on the actual main issue.
thank you, but I want to know, you're being sued right now by the developers. That is going to affect your outcome also, because you're going to watch your back. Thank you.
Just respond because I'm getting a little tired of this argument. I can assure you that I have no interest in the developer. I don't care about the developer or how much money they make or don't make. I'm sure Councilman D'Esposito feels the same way. I'm sure Supervisor Gillen feels the same way. And I have to tell you, I'm very surprised. We're trying to do our best, but there are laws and there is a Constitution, and we have to navigate that to make sure that we can protect you. So I have to tell you, I'm offended when someone says that we don't have your back, because we do have your back. We've done a lot so far, and we haven't made a decision. We said we would keep an open mind and listen to the public. We said we'd have public hearings, and we've done all that. And none of us here has made a decision on anything yet, but our decision, I'm going to tell you, you can rest assured, you can go to the bank on it. Our decision is going to be made what's best for the community, not what's best for some developer, because if we were worried about the developer, we would have done nothing.
Thank you.
Okay. I have the Reverend Christopher Ballard. Would you like to be heard on the adjournment, Reverend? I guess so.
Hi, my name is Father Chris Ballard, and I am the rector of Trinity St. John's Episcopal Church, which is located at 1142 Broadway. And I have the good fortune of living in the rectory, which is at 1138 Broadway. On Friday evenings, it is appalling to me about what Broadway looks like. I can sit on my front porch and I can watch the traffic that is backed up for nearly half a mile in either direction. And I have thought to myself often, what if I got sick or my neighbors got sick? And what if a EMT needed to be brought in, and how long and would that take? And it seems to me if there was a real medical emergency, that they may not make it. My heart is broken too as I watch from my office window as corteges try to come in and bury their people in our cemetery and often have to wait 45 minutes in order to take a left-hand turn. And so people are sad and mourning and just want this to be over, and the traffic patterns don't provide for that. I am grateful for this adjournment, I really am, so that studies can be done, but my hope is that those studies will be done and that the information will be provided to the community, which so desperately wants real information, information that is not clouded in secrecy, not that it has been before, but there is a distrust that is out there. a distrust that you ought to know that is very, very real. And there are a lot of people who are very, very concerned about this, not just for environment, which is huge, but also for their big asset in their life, which is the value of their homes. So my hope for you is that you will provide this information very quickly so that this project can be hopefully scuttled, because that is the will of the community, and that we can do this all above board and everyone can walk away feeling satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Caroline Ledger, would you? Peter Stellan?
Peter Stein, resident of Woodmere. I live on Broadway, right opposite the golf course, and I'm not waiting for an ambulance. I can't get out of my driveway in the morning to go to work. I would like to say this. I don't want to debate the merits of this because that's not the appropriate time to do this. But the adjournment is certainly called for and warranted. And what I would hope you will do is use this time judiciously to explore ways to find an alternate use for this property. I would hope that the narrow alternatives that have been looked at so far need to be expanded. I believe there is a possibility of eminent domain being asserted here. You can buy the property. You will avoid the lawsuit, I believe, and I guess Mr. Ra can tell you about that better than I can. I'm not an attorney. But I believe that the alternatives haven't been fully explored, and that the use of time should be utilized to look at those alternatives. I take issue with something you said, Mr. Blakeman, at the community meeting. You talked about golf is dying. I wouldn't know, I'm not a golfer, but I do know this much. I'm involved in municipal government in New York City. I know that the Parks Department in New York City operated some 10 golf courses and for years lost their shirt. I know golf is dying in places where there's a $100,000 initiation fee. But municipal courses are different, and there are people and there are companies willing to pay the municipality to come in and operate those courses at a profit. I think that should be explored.
I think we should explore that.
Well, I wish you would. I've written.
I think we should explore. I think we should put everything on the table, have a meeting, have the facts brought before us, and let's see what happens.
I would ask you and Mr. D'Esposito to foil the agreements that the New York City Parks Department has with U.S. Golf, the Trump Organization, and various other organizations. They are paying the city of New York substantial amounts of money to come in and operate. So this won't be a burden. If anything, it may be a moneymaker. I don't know that, but you certainly have the opportunity to explore that potential.
We would love the Trump organization to come in and buy the Woodmere Club. We would love that. Believe me, Councilman D'Esposito and I don't want to speak for him, we would love.
You probably would, with the provision that it be operated, that
goes for any private club that would like to operate a golf club. That is our number one choice, that it stay as is, if it's possible.
Well, then I think you need to explore that potential, and I hope you're going to use the time with this moratorium to do just that. Thank you for your time.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stern. Pearl Bruger, would you like to be heard on the adjournment?
My name is Pearl Bruger. I live in 4 Rose Street in the unincorporated village of Cedarhurst. First of all, I want to thank all of you for all the service that you do for our communities and the whole town of Hempstead. And I'm sure that you want to continue to do the best that you can for our communities. Having said that, I've agreed with most of the things that were said before. The golf course idea, I think, is fabulous. However, if it should come to a point, during this period where everything is being studied, and if it seems that it must be rezoned in some kind of a residential manner, I am asking, and I feel other people would agree on that, if it should have to be that way, then the zoning that is in the Cameron report be changed to far larger properties, more incompatible to what's zoned for Woodsburg and Lawrence, rather than, areas of Hempstead which are not adjoining this part of the, neighborhood. No, I didn't say I want houses. I said if it should come to that point where it must be a residential development, let the property sizes be increased to reduce the number of houses further than the study is indicating now. Thank you.
Rena Saffron.
Thank you. Rena Safra, 23 Irish Street, Cedarhurst. First of all, I have about 70 more petitions here. I'm not sure who I should give them to.
Give them to Michelle.
Thank you. This is in addition to the hundreds that we've been sending over the past year and a half. I first want to thank you all very much for adjourning this matter until we can all have a better look at things. And I want to address specifically, since I know you wanted to discuss only the adjournment. And what I want to say on that is that I don't think this has been handled properly. This is the second time now that we've really gotten down to the wire, where we've really come within days or hours of a vote, when suddenly someone comes ahead and says, okay, we're going to adjourn it. I emailed both you and you, Mr. Blakeman and Mr. D'Esposito, on June 6th. With 5 questions, and one of the questions was, are you going to adjourn it? Because at the time, the Cameron study had not been completed. On June 11th, I received a response that I'll get a response tomorrow. On June 12th, 6 days after I emailed you, I got a response that, yes, you're hoping to adjourn the meeting, and the report was not yet finalized. I got a phone call on Friday from Deborah Puglisi, I hope I'm not mispronouncing her name, telling me that the report was finalized and that it's up on the website. That was Friday, and today is Tuesday. So we're going into this really with very little time to get notice to the community and let people know what's happening. People are like, are we coming to the meeting? Are we not coming to the meeting? This is the second time that we've come within days of not knowing what was going to happen. So I'm asking you, at the next go-round, if we can do this in a more organized manner and a more communicative manner with a lot more transparency. Plan a community meeting before any vote is put up. Give us a lot of time to read this 200-page report. Maybe give us some time to do our own studies. The community has really come together in a way that I'm amazed at, with the amount of support that we've had, both just civically and financially, to really do something positive for the community, and we're really trying to do that. And sometimes when these things when there's so little time in between, we don't have a chance to get our ducks in a row, and we have a right to do that. And so I'm asking that the next time this comes up for a vote, we have ample time to have a community meeting with enough advance notice so that we can get out as many people as we can and really discuss all the issues that we've been discussing until now.
Okay, thank you very much, and your point was well taken. I think we could have handled it better the last time, but this time we only got the report on Friday. We can't tell the engineers to hurry up because you just can't do that. So
no, I understand that.
So
but 2 weeks ago,
we
you knew it wasn't finalized.
We're not happy about the fact that we have to adjourn it again either, but we think it's in your best interest, so thank you.
And as far as the adjournment, I would ask that it be pushed off until October. I know a lot of our community is Jewish, and there are a lot of Jewish holidays happening in September. It's going to be very hard to coordinate people, so
we are currently being sued.
I know.
That we're unreasonable in having the moratorium as long as we've had it. So we're going to be guided by counsel on that, because the last thing we want is for a judge to say, your moratorium's no good, and sorry you missed the boat, Town of Hempstead. We don't want that to happen.
All right, I appreciate that too. Thank you.
All right, so we have a pending motion and second to adjourn this public hearing. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Diaz-Bazito? Councilman Dunn? Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. That concludes our public hearings. Madam Clerk, will you please call the administrative calendar?
Yes, Supervisor. On the administrative calendar this evening, there are items 6 through 35. I also have 2 resolutions that are of an urgent or emergency nature. The first resolution is a resolution authorizing the town attorney to retain Rosenberg, Calica, and Burney, LLP, as the attorney for the council members of the Hempstead Town Board in the matter of Gillen versus Town of Hempstead et al. This will be item number 36 on the administrative calendar. The second resolution is a resolution authorizing the Department of Buildings to issue a building permit with a fee cap in connection with building permit application number 201809797 to construct a retaining wall on the northeast side of the property located at 1400 Glen Curtis Boulevard in Uniondale, Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York. This will be item number 37 on the calendar.
Would any of the council members like to sever any of the items on the administrative calendar? Hearing none, may I have a motion on the rest of the administrative calendar?
Through 37. And I move to postpone item number 22 indefinitely.
Do I have a second? Second. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on tabling item 22?
Councilman Ambrosino? Councilman Blakeman? Councilman Diaz-Bazito? Councilman Dunn? Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. Okay, on the administrative calendar, I have Felix Procacci.
How many slips do that? Thank God.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Bond Street, Franklin Square, New York. On item number 29, the establishment of the standard workday for several people. First, why aren't all the elected officials listed?
Because some of the council members are in the middle of their term, and so this is not necessary for them at this time. Isn't that correct, Mr. Ra?
That is correct, Supervisor.
How is the time and days determined? Who
The board members,
accurate?
the board members keep a calendar.
So it's the honor system. Is that correct?
The board members keep their own calendars.
So whatever they say is taken as gospel. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I'm asking. So I'd like to have a job like that. That's great. Yeah, I was just like wondering how Mr. Diaz-Bazito, he has to work 18 days a month, and this is supposed to be 10% of his work, you know, on his second job. He has a full-time job that he's only working 90%. The numbers, it gets quite astronomical as far as if you unless he works at night and stuff like that, it doesn't seem like he could do both jobs and still meet those requirements he stated when he took that job.
I do think that some of the hours that council people and other elected officials spend at night is credited towards their work hours.
No, I understand, but being that this is the honor system, you could understand our skepticism as residents who usually have to punch in at work and have people looking over us or check our work and make sure we're doing things legally and all that. This is like free for all, so that's, you know, and we're paying for it, so it's a concern. And I'm not going to ask any questions about it because I'm not going to get any answers. So the personnel issues that are reported for item, you know, the case number 7, only one is reported. Are there any other maternity leave or anything else? Because at the last meeting, it was the same issue where you only reported 1 or 2, but then you listed other people who had other leaves of absences or something else. So what I want you to do is fix the problem that if that's still the case, that you're not reporting it on the calendar, it should be on the calendar. If someone's taking a leave of absence, it's supposed to be on the resolutions, because that's the only check and balance that the residents have. We can't just take your word for everything, and we can't foil the whole town every month.
I think it's on the resolution.
Well, there's one person, but I'm just saying, is there any additional that aren't there? Because that's what was the case was last time.
I know it's two.
There's some leave of absence. There's a family care leave. There's
Okay, so
the number.
the point is that can we have an accurate resolutions then at the next meeting? So everything is my school district does it, and nobody, and they have like really weird laws if you look at their bylaws. But they say when teachers are taking leaves of absence.
Yes, you have the right to know what all the items on the personnel agenda. So
Let's try to fix it for the next time.
can you make sure that, Madam Clerk, please, that they're all on there? You can coordinate that with Mr. Salmon.
Yeah, one thing on item number 28, this goes back to the last meeting, taking a course. I guess it's required. I don't know if you said it was required by law or not. I do feel that the conflicts of interest are very stark around here. Everything is just written off. All my complaints that I've made regarding attorney behavior is not treated with any seriousness. I can't make an ethics complaint. I can't get a report of what ethics complaints have been made by any of you, if any were made. It's all really secret. You know, we're talking about transparency. You're going to go bend over backwards for the people complaining about the Woodmere Club. I like you to bend over backwards in the same respect for me when I'm asking for things that I think all residents deserve to know. And so when on this issue specifically, she's going to take a course. I believe when I've brought up conflict of interest stuff, they get dismissed all the time. And I brought a very serious conflicts of interest. So I don't see the point if you're going to send people, we're going to pay for a course, and then when I bring up an issue of a conflict of interest, you're going to say, well, it's not. You're not going to give me any reason, like Joe Rod never gives me reason. He just writes it off with one sentence, like he's the judge. And I think the residents deserve better than that, that if I ask about a conflict of interest, that I have a right to get a legal reason explaining why this situation that I feel is a conflict of interest. Maybe I'm wrong about my analysis of it, but just to write it off with one sentence, you're wrong, Felix, I think is wrong. And I think that it feeds into the ethics law that we need to modify it so residents can make ethics complaints. It's not going to be a free-for-all. You have to sign an affidavit. You got to swear an oath that you're telling all the truth. You got to provide evidence. You can't just willy-nilly just make a complaint about someone. And the results of that complaint, properly redacted, should be on the town's website. And for that matter, the financial disclosures that are required by the ethics law are still not on the town's website. So, and that law has been.
They are in the process of being redacted for personal information that is not required to be disclosed.
It's overdue, but it's overdue. And there's no punishment for the overdueness.
Mary Ellen Cray.
Mary Ellen Cray, 436 Locust Avenue, Uniondale. I have a question on number 11, maintenance of incandescent and mercury vapor floodlight systems. I presume that they cannot be LED, or what is the situation in regard to that, please?
Commissioner Lino. certainly.
Supervisor Gillen, Council, how you doing? Ma'am? No, they can't be LEDs. The current bulbs that we have in place are connected to the towers, and the way that they're set up, we need a full-on conversion. We're actually in the process down the road at looking at capital improvements over the 5-year term of the capital budget, converting one park after another. But at the time, no, they're incandescent and they have to stay that way.
Okay, thank you very much. I had a feeling.
Thank you.
But in short, it's not just that LED is not intense enough, it's just that we have to work toward it because of the situation as it is now.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I believe it was just last year we converted our Cherry Valley ball field to LEDs. It's just a project-based thing. It has nothing to do with the intensity of the bulbs.
Oh, thank you very much. On the item number 13, I'm just wondering what Hofstra is planning there. We're very happy to work with Hofstra on all kinds of activities, but knowing the setup there, I just don't.
It's an applied sciences building.
And wasn't it previously the law building?
That I don't know. I just know that it's for an applied sciences building.
Thank you. On item number 23, please. Where is Meadowbrook Green located?
It's a green corridor along the Meadowbrook Parkway.
In?
Mr. Tooman, can you specify a little bit more on where exactly our corridor is?
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, this actual project is going to be in, I guess it would be considered, North Merrick. It's along what's called the Meadowbrook corridor, and it's basically detention systems that will be put in on dead-end streets in that area to reduce the flow of water into the corridor.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
On the on item number 25, will that include an additional salary increase for the appointment as notary?
No, this is just a resolution for a $60 reimbursement for the fee associated with registering as a notary.
I see, thank you. And on item number 29, so I'm trying to understand the answers that were given previously, and I'm coming to the conclusion that the town board members would not be affected at all under this circumstances because you keep your own calendars. So if it's not the board members, would it only be people like the town clerk, the receiver of taxes? I'd like to know.
Mr. Law, if you could just offer a little clarification on this resolution. It relates to our credit in the pension system.
In order to get pension benefits, the state comptroller requires that the town board members and the receiver of taxes and the town clerk keep a 3-month calendar. And at the beginning of within their first year of their new term. And they then they take that calendar and report to the Attorney General's office how many hours they work at their elected positions. And from that, the pension system, the comptroller's office, gives them pension credits. That's what this is about.
Thank you.
All right, I don't have any more slips, so Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll for a vote on items number 6 through 37 with the exclusion of item 22?
Councilman Ambrosino.
Aye, with the exceptions of items 14
14 and 15, on which I recuse myself.
Councilman Blakeman.
I, with the exception of item 15, which I recuse myself.
Councilman Diaz-Posito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. May I have a motion to adjourn? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Diaz-Posito. Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Supervisor Gillen.
Aye. And that concludes the formal portion of our meeting. We'll now move into public comment. First, I have Michael Cassio.
Michael Cassio, 193 Bird Street in Oceanside. So I would ask the board to take up an issue that is still affecting Hurricane Sandy survivors. I'm talking about the substantial damage determination letters the town has sent out and is continuing to send out. Many who received them in the past did not understand the implications this letter meant for their house, even though the New York Rising program was still available to them, and did not understand what they had to do. Then there are those that, like myself, who just received them, and for many that will, too late to get into the New York Rising program. At this point, 5.5 years after Sandy, I think it is necessary to put in some kind of official appeals process, as FEMA allows, to allow people to challenge this assessment and thus enable them to close out their permits and go on with their lives. In addition, I believe the building department must be more proactive in notifying people as to this issue. Most people are still unaware of this condition. Just with the number of people I found in my own neighborhood recently, and then multiplying it by how large the township is, there are potentially thousands of people still affected by this. And on a personal note, I would like to remind everybody what people in our community went through. Many are still scarred from this, as this was their own personal 9/11. And the thought of reliving this is the reason I've had such a hard time finding people to come and speak out on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cassio, for your comments. Rachel Martino.
Hi. Good evening, Supervisor and Town Board. My name is Rachel Reichman Martino. I'd rather refrain from my address if that's okay. I'm here tonight to speak a little bit about the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. A little over 2 years ago, I sat here and spoke to the prior administration. I'm here tonight happy to be talking with you guys 2 years later, especially after I noticed that most of you are wearing purple. So we like that. But first, a little bit about myself. I have been a Town of Hempstead resident for over 25 years. I'm a colorist and hairstylist at DeRosa Hair Care in Franklin Square. I'm also a single mom with a special needs teenage daughter, and for the past 2.5 years, I've been volunteering at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. Additionally, for 3 years now, I have created, grown, and helped run several resource and support groups on Facebook for local dog owners across Long Island and the New York area. Collectively, reaching over approximately 20,000 dog lovers, dog rescuers, dog advocates, and dog professionals, some of which I have come to grow strong personal bonds with. Tonight I'm here along with approximately 30 other shelter volunteers, or purple people as we like to call ourselves, to let the town and the community know that we are here and that we love the animals and want to do whatever we can for them. In the past year, we have seen the volunteer program change tremendously for the better. The shelter staff is very actively adding new volunteers monthly. Our purple people are multiplying by the handfuls, which in turn is bettering the welfare and livelihood of the animals in the shelter. The animal shelter volunteers come from every walk of life. We have different ages, genders, races, and religions. The vast array of humans range from paralegals, architects, psychologists, 911 first responders and retired NYPD, computer ITs, stay-at-home moms, teachers, musicians, professional business owners, fitness trainers, corporate team leaders, project managers, retired military service, and county public relations, just to name a few. All of these volunteers take their spare time out of their busy lives and are dedicated to bettering the welfare of the homeless animals in the shelter. Contrary to what some may say about us on social media, we are a family, all of us. We accept one another as we are, along with our differences. Let's face it, animal people are pretty passionate people. With so many different personalities, we may butt heads from time to time, but the bottom line is we know that we are all here for the same thing, which is the animals. Because we are like family, we move beyond our personal issues and stay focused on what's important, which is, again, the animals. And listen, sometimes things aren't always perfect. I don't think any large municipal shelter housing the number of animals that we have could ever be a perfect place, regardless of who's running it. Sometimes stories get taken out of context and things are misunderstood, especially when social media is involved. Unfortunately, most times when people hear bad things about the shelter, they don't do any fact-checking. They just support a sad story and throw blame. More times than not, it's just one side of a whole story where things get twisted out of context. Like tonight, right here in my speech. I'm sure tomorrow it's going to turn into something else on social media, but I'm ready for that. I've been attacked numerous times for my participation and support of the shelter, and I'm not alone. Many of us have, just like some of you have also. It's a true injustice in an already difficult situation. It's not helpful at all, but we won't stop doing what we do for the animals, and we won't stop growing our purple team of volunteers. So tonight I'm hoping there can be another focus, and that is one of unity and positivity. The unity that can be found with a group of like-minded people. The unity that can be found in numbers and positivity and helping and useful information. The unity that can be found between a town administration and its community. A unity that has clearly already developed. A unity that can grow to continue to help these homeless animals. These are the animals of Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, and they need our help. And the only way that they will get help is with unity. I want to say thank you for supporting the volunteer program and for supporting the animals. I've seen more positive changes in the past several months than the past 2 years prior. I look forward to seeing more wonderful changes and seeing the unity continue to grow and develop and wonderful things happening for the animals of the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, because that's what really matters. And at the end of the day, those that matter know the truth. We are very proud to be purple. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Martino, for your comments. Thank you for the good work that all of our people in purple do for our shelter. Thank you for your courage to come forward today, despite the fact that you might be harassed tomorrow for your comments. Thank you so much for your courage. Felix Procacci.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Barn Street, Franklin Square. I just want to rewind a little bit just to the previous hearing on the adjournment. Very few people spoke on the adjournment, and I know that I felt the frustration of being at this microphone so many times when I couldn't even make an analogy or anything without having people interrupt me, saying that I'm not on point. But a lot of people, everybody basically spoke off the adjournment. You could rewind the tape and watch it, but I think that there should be one standard for all people. Also, I'm very upset about what happened before the meeting. When I came, I always come early. It's usually at least half hour early because I like to set up. I like to get my mind clear, read my notes. And I was told very rudely by the public safety officer that I can't come in till 7 o'clock. And there seemed to be no cause for that. You know, I wasn't holding a sign. I wasn't protesting. Not that that would have mattered. Even if I was, I had that right. But I just wanted to come into the building, and they're very nasty and say, no, you can't come in till 7 o'clock. He says, the meeting starts at 7. I says, I need time to set up. It didn't matter. But anyway, the thing is that it goes back to, I remember, I think Kate Murray did that one time. And I just don't really want to see that ever happen again. I don't want to get involved in a conflict between different people here, but I just want to just bring out a point that it was Diane Madden who started the volunteer program. So, it was just, me and Diane have our differences, but that's a point, and Kate Murray never honored her here, and Santino never honored her here, and, she watched the dog die by being bleached to death, so, and there was no ceremony for her heroics. On the issue of the free air legislation, I hear there's an emergency statute being put together. Laura, rescind the law. It's illegal. There's illegal on two fronts. It conflicts with state law, and you can't regulate prices in zoning law. The Judge Murphy didn't pick up on the second one, but it's very clear. I read the entire law. The clean thing to do, save the taxpayer money, and rescind the law, and that's the end of it. There's no quid pro quo. You shouldn't have to trade your constitutional rights and be threatened by, continued litigation when you're in the right. This is part of the ethics that I'd love to see an ethics law, the ethics board review and say, well, the board is acting unethically in passing this legislation and pursuing this this craziness because there's no good reason to do it. Even with all the paperwork, with all the $75,000 plus that Beckman Hennig generated, I read every last stitch of paper 2 or 3 times. They haven't even given a reason. Santino in 2016 couldn't give me a reason. You watch the videotape. It's on Just the Facts Media, nowhere else. Move on, Mr. Procacci. Every question. Move on, Mr. Procacci. Here we're at a hearing to discuss a piece of legislation. Move on, Mr. Procacci. He wouldn't answer one of them. There's ample evidence. End it. It's wrong. It's immoral. It's unethical. It would be the first thing I did if I had the right to file an ethics complaint against this board. Don't pursue it. Anyone, put it up for a vote and see who votes yes or no. You be on the right side. You have clean hands. If Dunn wants to vote against it, let him do that. If Ambrosino doesn't care, let him do that. But let's hear each of the board members say why free air is a right of way. That people can't afford $1 for air. If you're blowing smoke out of your engine, that's an emergency situation, but no mechanic is going to fix your car for free. And it's also dangerous to let some people fill air in tires because they might fill air. I worked in a gas station. People would come to me with 5 holes in their tires. They want me to fix it. I said, get a new tire. If they're putting air in a bad tire, they might go on the highway, think it's good, and they're going to go flat, and they're going to be in the left lane or something, and that may not be a safety issue. Proper inflated tires, but also the tires have to be good. If the tires are going bad, losing air that quickly, get new tires. The law has no justification. Nobody has justified it. I've asked. I'm open-minded. Somebody tell me. Nobody would ever tell me. And just get rid of it, please. Okay? Put it up for a vote. You have the right to do that, and let's see who votes against it. Okay? Thank you so much.
Mary Ellen Cray.
Mary Ellen Cray, 436 Locust Avenue, Uniondale. First of all, I'd like to thank Senior Councilwoman Gooseby for her advocacy for the show choir, and I'm so glad that our young people were properly recognized, as well as their leader, Lynette Carr Hicks. And now, once again, I must point to the difference between the handling of the Woodmere Golf Course issue versus the Uniondale development at A. Holly Patterson of almost 400 units on 17.8 acres, which will also affect our quality of life and add to our already severe traffic situation. It's a big, big difference, and I regret the situation. The Next item, Hofstra, are they putting in a new building? The Applied Science Building? Are they constructing, or they're turning the previous building into a new purpose? Well, what did you?
I can get back to you on that. I'm trying to even find my notes on that. I'll get back to you, Ms. Cray, on that. I think they're changing a building, but I'm not 100% certain. I know it's their Applied Sciences building, but this is about the secret determination, which was the Environmental Quality Review Act. So we're just ratifying that.
There's something about site plan approval.
Right. Hofstra is building a building on the site, and what this says is that there's no negative impact on the environment.
Exactly what I was asking, whether they were building a new building, so thank you. And I'd like to urge you once again, please, Supervisor Gillen, to sign the Mayor's Clean Energy Pledge and to move forward with the planning group, hopefully have some Sierra Club members involved in that. Thank you.
Hattie Ambrosia. Richard Watkins. Ann Myers.
Good evening. My name is Ann Myers, and I live at 1611 Meadowwoods Drive in East Meadow, 11554. First, I'd like to say congratulations to yourself and to those who are reelected. I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
There's a lot here that is to be proud of. I spent the past 3 days at the beach with the senior program, and they do a wonderful job with the senior group. The housing situation here, the housing department, with the exception of one shining light where I had drafted a man to dance with a 91-year-old woman, and his name, I found out with great difficulty, was Zangrillo. He needs to be recognized. I mean, we should have more people like this. He made her day, and she still talks about it. And unfortunately, I was on a list to get housing, and it's hard to believe that there can only be one person that knows the system, that knows the computer, that has access to the information. What if he gets sick? What if he resigns? And I would strongly urge you to do what the county is doing, that being an audit of how many of these people are related to other people who have had jobs within the area. This particular person is the son of someone who was, I believe, a board member or connected with the town at some point. I found him to be demeaning through the process. Yes, it's subsidized housing, but it's not cheap, and I paid almost $200,000 in cash. I should not have been subjected to his negativity and his nastiness and all the little things that went along with the lack of movement in the process along the way. It has been hell. So basically, I would, appreciate it if you could take a look at what's going on there. I filed a Freedom of Information Act request at one point. He is the person that answered it, only with information from the original filing way back more than 20 years ago. Everything was still very secret, and that was not to the point that I was requesting the information. Unfortunately, I haven't finished unpacking yet. Moving truck just left last Wednesday, and the contractors have been coming in and out, moving my things from one room to the next. So I'm not prepared to give you dates, times, comments, and places, but I'm happy to do that in the future. as I unpack and come across them. But I think a shining light needs to be looked at there. And I saw Mrs. Murphy in the back. I think we should give her a round of applause.
Ms. Murphy and Linda Reed are both here, and they do a wonderful job with our seniors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
They both had oral surgery, so they have ice on their face, if you'll notice.
Togetherness.
Yeah. But they do an incredible job at the beach for our seniors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Thomas, and I live in Nassau County. I don't give my address here for reasons not to discuss. I, once again, practically beg you at this point to enforce a code of ethics with some of your staff and with some of your volunteers. Not all of them. There are so many wonderful, beautiful volunteers that do plenty of great things for the animals at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. However, there are a handful of them that viciously attack the public. When something goes wrong, they automatically, one volunteer was talking about social media a couple of minutes ago. Well, a handful of these volunteers will find out information about somebody, like the family of Luna, who just came out of the shelter very, very ill. And she shouldn't have even been in there for the 2 weeks that she was there in the first place. But a handful of volunteers attacked Luna's mom, who is a very young, hardworking woman. And I'm talking about threats and harassment and intimidation via social media. So although some say they are going to be attacked tomorrow, some of them are indeed attacking the public. The most recent example is regarding the dog Chaos, which is that situation is going on right now. And what has happened with Chaos, yes, pending litigation, so I know nobody will talk to me. But the bullying and the harassment of the public, please, just has to stop. It's a young woman who is the mother of Luna, and now it's a young family with a young daughter who was here before, if anyone saw her. She's 3 years old. Right now, she's receiving threats at home because her dog ended up in the shelter and the microchip was missed, and he was renamed a different name, given a different age, and so on and so forth. However, the bottom line is that that family does not deserve to be attacked. Right now, the family is thinking of filing a report because the phone calls are not stopping and the messages through social media are not stopping. And some of those messages are coming from your volunteers. Some. I have to always state that you have some wonderful volunteers at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. There is a handful that is wreaking havoc among some members of the public, and it's unacceptable. I brought this up it started in 2015. In 2016, I came to the board to let the board know what was happening. And still, nothing has been done. And it's extremely disturbing, and it is a bad and poor representation upon you because you just honored the volunteers, which is great because there are some great volunteers, but you're condoning the behavior of what some of these people are doing to the general public, and it's not right. And someday you're going to bully the wrong person, perhaps a vulnerable teenager, on social media, as some of these things have very negative effects on people. It seems that this happens whenever there's an incident at the shelter regarding an animal, such as Luna, who I'm doing a fundraiser for Luna because her bills have been racking up. She got sick in the shelter, so I'm running a fundraiser.
one of the volunteers is discouraging people from contributing to the fundraiser with yet more false allegations against me. So as my lawsuit moves forward, you will probably see what happened to me. And your staff went so far as to call my job with more false allegations. And it's outrageous. And I'm begging you to please make it stop, because you're going to do this to the wrong person.
Elizabeth Crescitelli. Elizabeth Crescitelli. Okay.
Emmy Thunderberg Ivy.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I was a constituent that came before you and complained about the animal shelter, and that I had a terrible experience when I went. I have to admit that, someone from your office called and asked me to try it again, and I was dead set against it. However, listening to some of the changes that have taken place at the animal shelter, I recently adopted a dog. As a matter of fact, I just took him in. His new name is Cosmo. And when I got him from the dog shelter, his name was Berkeley. So we've changed that. He's gone for a wellness exam. He's doing excellent. In my opinion, it has changed. I've seen a difference in the way you're welcome when you come in. The people at the front desk has changed. I'm listening to all the stuff that's going on, and it's like, it's two sides. It's almost like Peyton Place there. And it's just to say that the public, if they have an opinion about the place and a bad experience, can do just like some of us do, come in and complain and let you know what's going on. At the end of the day, though, it's about the animals that are there. The shelter is there to house and take care of animals who cannot take care of themselves, who have been left alone. Some of them are strays. So at the end of the day, all that we're talking about is the care of our four-legged friends. And I can say that from my experience, when I first went, I was very angry, wrote a long, detailed letter. I said that, that the process was flawed. I thought it was discriminatory. And to be able to go back and give it a second chance, I'm very happy. I'm an owner now of a great little dog. So I'm hopeful that the changes that you have implemented will only manifest itself, whether you will continue to make the changes that will make this place a better place for our four-legged friends. And I can only applaud. I'm so happy at the changes that I've seen thus far. So for that, I'm glad that you were able to honor those volunteers, because the ones that I met were excellent. And I'm hopeful that you will continue to get volunteers that want to work and want to be there with those little dogs and the big dogs, whatever. But I think support is always necessary and needed. And anything you can do to put some funds there that will help with the cleanup and all that goes into taking care of those dogs is something that we should definitely do. My second point is that I live in Roosevelt, and I'm on the corner of East Clinton and Berkeley. We really need a sign on that corner. It's drug use. People come in at night, and because it's kind of dark on my corner, the parking allows for people to hide, and I've seen prostitution. I said before, people have sex there, throw the condoms out. I shouldn't have to live that way. And I'm asking for a sign on the corner of Berkeley and East Clinton to clear my side, and also my neighbor. I spoke with him. He's been very upset. You can't even street clean there anymore, and it's just really disgusting. And so we need the service. And I sit on the Nassau County Police Commissioners Council, and we've been looking at how lighting and signs can aid in security around the homes there. And since Nassau Road has been cleaned up, now some of the crime is moving into the neighborhood itself. So I'm asking if we could get a sign on both corners so that cars don't park there. At least it'll give cars that are coming down the street the opportunity to see around the corner. But most importantly, at night, when the sun goes down, then the prostitutes can't park there. It will be a benefit. And I'm asking that in partnership with what we're doing with the county, this would be an excellent way to curtail the crime and the criminal activity that's going on that corner. So I'm asking if we can definitely get a sign. I'll be more than willing to show you pictures that we have taken. And I said before, my husband, I hope he doesn't do it again, but he goes out, he takes pictures of them sitting in the cars. He asks them to move. He's really, really aggressive with that. But if there's a sign there, at least if they do park, we can call the police right away and say, hey, someone's parking in a place that they shouldn't be parking. They can issue tickets, and this will kind of deter the criminal behavior.
The Commissioner of Police is a great guy. Patty Ryder is phenomenal. And he's the first precinct handles your area. I'm going to share what you said with our Councilwoman Gooseby. And he will increase patrols on that corner. And if it does happen, you see it happening, call 911 immediately, and they'll send a sector car. It's in the area right over there. And as far as the signage and the additional lights, I'm sure Senior Councilwoman Gooseby would love to make it safer for you. So we'll talk to her about that. Thank you for coming here. And thank you for saying those nice things about the shelter too.
Thank you for your comments, and we will coordinate with Senior Councilwoman Gooseby to make sure we address your concerns. Lucille Defina.
I really don't have too much to say this evening, other than since all the volunteers or some of the volunteers are here, I just want to remind everyone that a real good volunteer program is when volunteers are allowed to walk freely throughout the shelter, in every part of the shelter, and there isn't any areas that are not open to them. So I have to question why these volunteers are just happy to go in and do the work that they do with the animals in the front. Because when I rescued out of there, it was the animals in the back. And from what I saw in January when Mitch took me through the shelter, it was the animals that are in the back, in those rooms with the doors closed, that nobody's allowed to go into, that need the most socializing, the most care, the most attention, and the rescuing. So that's all I have to say about the volunteers, and that if your heart is in the right place, you should ask to see the animals that you're not allowed to see.
Paula Werner.
This is my first time at a town meeting, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of people saying a lot of things. Social media is a powerful thing. I just want to let you know that I've been watching what's going on for the last year or two about the town of Hempstead shelter. I kept my opinions to myself, like many residents, because you don't know how much you're seeing is true. I have to tell you, watching the 3 dogs post, very sick, is heartbreaking. But chaos is personal to me. I was the rescuer that found chaos. I saw the post that they needed help. It doesn't matter to me who they are. I went and looked for them for 3 days in the blazing heat for that dog. I don't see many people doing that. I did it for the family. We went to the police station. We went to the shelter every day. I'm sorry, but a white pit bull just doesn't appear or not appear anywhere. Doesn't anybody ask themselves that? Did the dog have a microchip? Yes, he did. The parents did everything rescuers tell them to. He had a collar on with 3 tags. The dog only ended up with 1 tag. Let's just say, put everything aside here. They couldn't find the chip. Okay. They don't believe it, but let's just say all the tags weren't on the dog. But keep in mind, there was a rabies tag on that dog. You can track an animal through a rabies tag. You can ask any vet that. The parents were at the shelter every day. Does it occur to anyone that they're saying a white pit bull has been missing? So whoever is in the shelter that day has to know what came in over the weekend. How does a dog that's 10 years old get renamed and lost? I need you to all think about that. That's scary. The dog didn't get lost. They renamed that dog. Only reason why I found the dog was because a gentleman listened to me on the street in 100-degree weather walking around. I said, "Did you see a white dog?" He said, his wife said, looking at me, "Yeah." "Did you see a white pit bull?" They said, "Yeah." She said, "You need to go talk to my husband." And I did. By myself, Father's Day. He showed me a picture of the dog. He asked me who I was, and I told him I was just trying to help the family. He told me the police station picked him up at his house. We went to the shelter. We went to the police department first. We got the name of the officer that turned the pit bull in. We went to the shelter, and they still said the dog was not there. Until we mentioned the police officer's name, the dog became available. That's scary. I have dogs myself. You have to ask yourself, what happened here? I don't care what's going on all the last year or two. Somebody dropped the ball and somebody was accountable. Who are you going to make accountable for this? I'm not part of the group that's here. I'm a resident that wanted to help another resident. Are you guys going to help your residents? I walked that area for 3 days to help a family that was in need. Then I watched this family get torn apart on social media, and to boot, and I try to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to be this fight. But believe you me, I have it in me. They were telling people personal things that only the shelter people could have given out on social media. Then they were calling this family white trash on social media. That's wrong. I don't care who you are, it's wrong. What are you going to do about that? They have to be accountable for their actions in some way. If a dog is missing, or whatever the reason why the dog got into their shelter, how many times, then it's the shelter's responsibility to reach out to the owners and say, there's a problem here and we need to address it, not the volunteers. I watched a video of a shelter manager screaming at these people. I watched it. You have to see it. That's unacceptable. It really is. It's not fair and it is unacceptable. I know you love your volunteers. And whatever reason is going on behind the scenes, I don't care. But you're responsible for those animals and for all of your residents, not just some of your residents.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Diane Madden.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. Thank you for your comments. You're not going to try to find out what volunteers have viciously attacked this family and discriminated against them?
You're welcome to put in a report and we'd be happy to investigate it.
You remind me of the cartoon where there's a big fire in the background and you're always doing things that, it's basically nothing to see here. And that's great. Give out awards. First of all, it's offensive to some of the union employees that I'm getting texts from because they're the ones wearing 10 hats and working hard. They're the hardest workers.
I'm proud to honor my volunteers. Thank you again to the volunteers who are
Well,
still
they're not.
here.
They're
Thank
not
you very
really.
much.
You really need to grow up, Laura. You really do.
Do you have something to say that affects the town board instead of
say
launching
anything I
personal
want. I
insults?
see my speaker is off. I can say anything I want. This is freedom of speech. Didn't Mr. Clavin remind you of that? You can brag about things that you had nothing to do with because that's about all you can talk about. You've done nothing at the animal shelter. You talk about beds. We had beds in 2010. They were part of the budget. Nothing new. Volunteer programs, nothing new. You had nothing to do with it. That came as a result of a lawsuit. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so you still have no behaviorist. The RFP was a big scam.
No, I believe you told the behaviorist to withdraw her application. That's what you told me.
That's what I told you?
Yes, in a text message.
Oh, okay. And what did you tell me in a text message?
Nothing.
First of all, I didn't tell you that in a text message. She sent me an email after Debbie sent her an email and asked me, she was very concerned about how this was a scam and what you did and how Mitch laid out everything for her to come in and apply. Yes, she has all the emails. And then she came back to me and said, they created the RFP around me, had me come in, do all these, this presentation only to tell me that they wanted me to train the current behaviorist. And that's when you got that text message because she had pulled out by then. So anytime you want to meet and lay out all of the documents, I'd be happy to do so. The rescue groups are still banned. Your administration, who has asked for their names and numbers, have gotten them several times. They're still not in there. Valerie will talk to you about the person she ran into at a party who said he's still not been notified by your staff and he's still not able to save animals from the Hempstead shelter. Pan Luke was in the animal shelter. It is in the animal shelter, but your liaison was too busy creating panic and calling public safety. By the way, I'm not going to speak for them, but I can tell you I hear from them all the time, and they're really getting fed up with getting the messages that, Rebecca, there's a disturbance. There's never a disturbance at the animal shelter. There's never been a problem. There's never been a threat.
Thank you. I'm glad you said there's never been a problem at the animal shelter.
Right. Concerning necessary for public safety. As far as Liz Stein, I know she called you the other day. She told me before she called you, I know it's useless, Diane, but after visiting the animal shelter and again being appalled, never seeing it as bad as it was since 2010, she called you. And, she reminded you of the conditions, and she reminded you that she's worked with the Democrats for 10 years, no matter thick and thin, up and down, but she refuses to work with you. She refuses to work with your administration. Keep that in mind. That speaks volumes. No matter what you do with awards, you're still an overcrowded animal shelter. You're still filled with illness. You still have clogged up the lines to get into the shelter. I've got recordings of animal rescuers leaving because they can't wait any longer. You still have no Facebook page, and every Facebook page that volunteers can go on, they're discriminated against if anyone speaks out on mismanagement or cruelty. So again, you've done nothing. You can't even put up a Facebook page that's not discriminatory for the animal shelter. You have an ACO that's all over Facebook telling the truth about what's going on. You may want to spend a little attention on that because you can't hide the truth forever, Laura. You can give out all the awards you want, but the truth always comes out. You're lost and found, the situation with this dog that was lost and found. You remove the person out of lost and found. There's nobody there really specifically to cover that. So I know how much you care so much about animals, except for certain animals. There's no expert in that department either. You've removed all of them. But you know what? It's pretty simple to know why. You, again, put in a liaison. Here's a resume with 0 experience. This woman couldn't hold a job for more than a year. Couldn't hold a job for more than a year or two, and you put her in, have no background of animal shelter or welfare. Let me tell you something. It's a good thing, because her gig isn't going to be more than a year or two here either.
Domenica Califano. Domenica? Patio Miller? Patty Miller?
Hi, Patty O'Miller. I live in East Meadow. I just wanted some updates. I was there when you announced the audit, and I was very supportive of it because I think it's a great thing to be very transparent, which is very important. And I wanted to know when we would be getting the results of that.
The audit is not yet complete. We reached out to the controller's office to give you a status, Jim.
And how will we get those results?
They'll be made public once they're available.
Okay. I had been interviewed by Mr. Alaka, and I had asked last year for the information, what was done with it. He had told me there were 60 people that were interviewed by him for the investigation, and we had spoken about this last year, and I was wondering what was going on, and where did he go? He disappeared, and he disappeared with a lot of information. So I'm just wondering, again.
To look into, you can submit a request in writing. I'd be happy to get back to you.
Okay, so the getting back to me means I still have to, okay. And the other thing I was wondering about with the new transparency at the shelter, I'm wondering if I could get a list of where the cats are shipped out to, because they tend to go away in bunches of 20 or so. And is that able to be made public knowledge?
Submit a request, and we'll look into it, and I'll try to get back to you with information.
Okay, thank you.
Bradley Zagaris. Barbara Thomas. Okay. Valerie Lamp.
Before she starts my clock, I'd like to actually ask for an extra 5 minutes because I had signed up to speak for the agenda, and this gentleman, where'd he go? The guy who handles the slips, he acknowledged that, as well as the fact that I have screenshots on my phone because it's not the first time that you skipped me. In the last meeting, I was skipped.
I did not get any slip for you for
Pictures from my phone.
I do not have any slip
Can
for
I
you
have
here.
my 5 minutes?
You can have your 5 minutes.
And my extra 5 minutes that I signed up for?
What did you sign up to speak for?
The shelter, the item specific to the adoptions aspect of on the agenda.
Sure, you can speak to the Summer of Love. You can have 5 minutes for that, and then 5 minutes for public comment.
Okay. Summer of Love.
But why did you speak up when we called the administrative calendar? You could have spoken up then. If you weren't called, you could have said, I wasn't called and I have a slip. I think you did that last time, and I invited you to come up. So next time, if you want to be heard on the administrative calendar and you haven't been heard, you're welcome to speak.
Did you ask me a question? Do I get to answer you, or are you just going to try to steamroll me like you do other people?
I'm just telling you that if you want to be heard on the administrative calendar, you have the opportunity to say, I didn't get
a question. My answer is that you guys took the vote very quickly. I jumped up immediately, and in my courteous fashion, I decided to speak to the gentleman who's in charge of the slips. I see my clock is running, so let me get to my points. Antagonizing. The shelter is currently unable to handle its demand with regards to the adoption. You have lines out the door thanks to your not so wonderful new policy requiring people to provide federal identification, followed by then having to wait until they get an escort. There's been countless complaints as to this specific issue, and I'm wondering if you're actually going to cease and desist the collection of people's federal identification information. Nope. Okay. I get it. You're not going to answer my questions. Okay. I was actually ready for that. Reputable rescues will not deal with your shelter in spite of recommendations for your staff to reach out to them and you as well during your campaign trail. Remember the 2 directors that I told you I personally spoke with, relayed the information to you, gave you the cell number, etc. During your campaign trail, you were all too happy to actually have that information and reach out to 1 out of the 2. But ultimately, it didn't go anywhere because I have actually recently run into specifically one of the most highly regarded shelter directors, and he's extremely disappointed with you. He's extremely disappointed that no one's reached out to him. He's disgusted, and so were all of the other people, animal advocates, large animal organizations that all got behind you and all reached out to get people to vote for you. And you know what? They would never do it again. We all regret it. In addition to that, speaking of the shelter, my analogy is this. I used to waitress, and if you go out to dinner and your waitress comes over and takes your dinner order and then disappears, but you don't get any food, and then a half an hour later you send another waiter, totally new waiter, you give the dinner order again, you're still hungry, and then you get another waiter half an hour later, you still give the same dinner order and you don't get anything. Well, that's what's happening. That's how your administration is handling our requests. That's how they handle our complaints, our concerns. We just keep getting a new person. It's almost like some kind of Space Invaders invasion going on. I get a phone call, I get an email. Just tell me what you want to do. Just tell me your suggestions. Just tell me how many people I have to tell it to. You, Mitch, Rebecca, Felix? Sorry, Felix, I love you, but do me a favor, Laura. This is a specific request. Don't go through other people. You have my number. You used it every single day, or practically every single day on your campaign trail. You texted me, you called me. I don't need your messengers. You know how to reach me. Back to the shelter. Oh, specifically, I'd like to actually acknowledge, and you're not the only person who can hand out awards. In fact, we, the people, are thinking about coming up with an awards program. I already spoke to a couple of board members about it. We'd like to acknowledge people who we think are doing a good job. We think that they have staff who are respectful and get back to us and who are responsive to us. And guess what? You're not on it. Oh, actually, no, wait, I'm sorry. You are on it. You are nominated, and you have no competition right now for the town of Hempstead's Best Actress. You're up for it alone. And I want to tell you something else. Your staff is not up for any kind of responsiveness award or whatever. I got to wait a month for a phone call? It's ridiculous. All right, my next 5 minutes goes to... So tonight, we had a demonstration prior to this wonderful meeting, and the theme was that Laura Gillen lied. So I know how you are.
You're supposed to be talking about the administrative calendar.
This is my new 5 minutes, right?
No, but that was your public comment. Now you talk about the administrative calendar.
No. That was... The shelter was on the administrative calendar. If you'd like, I can reference the number.
Yes, I know what it is. It was the adoption, the Summer of Love event, whether we should waive fees for the adoption. So that's what what is on the administrative calendar.
Comments. We can go back and forth if you'd like all night.
No, actually, we can't.
No, we can't.
You can talk about the administrative calendar right now if you'd like to.
Give me my 5 extra minutes. This is ridiculous. You said you were going to give me my extra 5 minutes.
You can have 5 more minutes to talk about the administrative calendar.
Oh, my God. Felix, are you watching this? Cool. So, I guess we'll start with the shelter. Something really funny about this. The abuse, the mismanagement, the patronage jobs, and the fact that the shelter was clearly mismanaged on your campaign trail, and now you're backpedaling about that. I'm just curious. I've been asking myself, what changed? What changed? People, you're saying it changed.
Nothing changed. And then it hit me like a brick. The only thing that did change is you. You changed. I get it. It hit me like a brick today. I look at that video where you're outraged, and by the way, we have another video coming, one that you probably forgot about because it's not on YouTube, but you stood in front of a camera in front of the landfill, and I don't know if you remember all the things that you said that day because it hasn't been publicized at all yet, but we got it today, and it was like a gift from baby Jesus. Wait till you see that one. Anyway, in that video, you also said that you were going to sit down with animal advocates like Diane Madden. Love it when you name her. You also said that you were going to bring back the people who really care about the animals, like Diane Madden. Another good one. Another video that you had posted said that you would never condescend to any of the constituents. I actually bought that. I did. I actually believed you. All those conversations that we had, all the good you were going to do, how different you were going to be. You also said that you weren't going to put your name on any signs. You also said that when you were speaking to the employees that they were going to love working for you. I have been speaking to many of your employees. That's not the case. Last but not least, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I was reading the Newsday today, saw that article that was all about the surplus, et cetera, and I'm so confused now because you had stated during your campaign trail over and over again, and again, I repeated it. I totally repeated it. That there was no surplus, there was no surplus, there was no surplus. And we just got a bond upgrade, and they're attributing the surplus to the prior administration. Do I owe Anthony Santino an apology? Because, unlike you, if I'm wrong, I'm the first one to apologize. So, I mean, we can't get an apology out of you for your bully liaison attacking Diane Madden. We can't get an apology out of you for saying that botched surgery at the shelter didn't happen. We can't get an apology out of you for steamrolling Lucille DeFina here while she was here with foiled documents. I mean, I actually thought you were a humble person, a good person. I did. I believed in you. And if I was wrong for that, I am genuinely apologizing to every single person who I convinced to vote for you, for every single time I stood by your side at a train station, for every single time that I convinced you to do something that you didn't want to do, like fight for the Winsome Park playground, like go toe-to-toe with Santino at the Baldwin train station. You remember that, right, Councilman Diaz-Pazito? We were all there together that same morning. We had to convince you to stay. And all I know is I look at you and I just see, all I feel is regret. Regret and disgust. You know what I want, Laura? Fix the shelter. Like you promised. Fix the shelter. I don't care how you feel about me. I don't. I've moved on. Whatever. Whoever it is that's running, I don't know if you're here tonight. I don't know if it's Clavin. I don't know if it's Sylvia. I don't know if it's someone we've never heard of before. No idea. I'm all in. Call me.
Priscilla Merzaki, Stuart Kroll,
Good evening. Stu Kroll, Great Neck. First of all, Councilman Diaz-Pazito, I understand you've been helping with the shelter, so I want to commend you for that, or with animal issues. Anyway, I just want to expound upon two experiences I just had at the shelter, and again, I'm sure there are many good volunteers there. I was there on two successive Fridays, June 8th and June 15th. The first thing on June 8th, I went to visit the cats in about 4 rooms. I saw about 35 of them. I'm sure there were many more in the back that, of course, I had no access to. About half of these cats were caged, and being involved with many shelters, I can tell you, sanctuaries, all about cats, little shelter, Cove Animal Rescue, cats aren't caged unless they're sick. That's antiquated. The next time I went there, by the way, in the FIV room, the furniture was dilapidated. It looked like something out of Appalachia. Some of the stuff was falling apart. I mean, it didn't look like a $4 million shelter. Anyway, I went to see the dogs. They were spread out over 3 rooms. They're all large dogs. And they were pretty clearly agitated, and obviously they need exercise. These dogs obviously wanted to get out. I don't blame them. Anyway, this leads me to a somewhat disturbing, reality. I was curious to see how many dogs were being walked. Also, I got there both times in the middle of the afternoon. I had to wait 20 minutes to get in. There was nobody else there but me. So it wasn't like there were people ahead of me. I had to wait 20 minutes to get in. Okay. Anyway, there were 2 volunteers I saw walking the dogs. They told me that sometimes they went off to the left of the shelter. There's a trail down there. I walked way down on that trail. I saw no more dogs and no more people. Okay? I was a little bit upset about that, as you can imagine. Okay, one person at the desk started to tell me they don't walk dogs beyond a certain temperature, which I found utterly ridiculous. It was 80 degrees and a bright sunny day. It wasn't 95 degrees and humid. Anyway, at that point I was pretty upset. There were no dogs in the exercise pens either. At that point I was pretty upset, and I asked to see somebody in authority to voice my concern. So they told me that Mike Pastore would be coming down. I waited. About 15 minutes later I get a word that he's in a meeting and he can't come down. So I asked to see somebody else in authority. They told me that Melissa Fogarty would speak to me. Well, guess what? I waited another 15 minutes, and she didn't decide to arrive. Anyway, at that point, they gave me the town hotline number. Well, surprise of surprise, nobody ever returned my call. Which of course the whole thing was just rude and inconsiderate. Anyway, my next visit on Friday, June 15th was pretty similar to the one before. There were 2 volunteers walking the dogs. No dogs were in the exercise pens. I was told that they were being cleaned. As I stated, the FIV room with the cats was really a sad-looking situation. There was nobody in there working with these cats, and the place was it was falling apart. What I don't understand also is, with the amount of money spent on this shelter, why is it that only volunteers are out walking the dogs? What are the employees doing? I mean, aside from not showing up when they said they were going to speak to me, what is everybody doing? And if you guys need more money, what I suggest you do is take the $500 allocated to marketing and use that. That'll pay for another employee for 2 days. Anyway, it's readily apparent to me at this point that, dedicated animal advocates can actually have some impact on the outcome of an election, but it seems to be more difficult to influence policy. Therefore, I've come to the conclusion that we need to enlist support from all of your constituents, and I think I have an interesting way, which you'll appreciate, to do that. Pursuant to this end, a number of advocates, including myself, are in the process of writing down all the things that have happened, all the conditions at the shelter, what's happened with Luna, what's happened with Chaos. And at my own expense, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the discs from the Board of Elections, and I'm going to send this out to every citizen, just like your mailers. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to start in the shelter district. But don't worry, you guys are all going to get them one after another. But I'm going to do that starting immediately. Thank you.
Wilhelmina Funderburg. Rich Shuren. Mita Meriday.
How's everybody doing? Yeah, okay, cool. Good. How did you know I wrote that down? I'm sorry. Mita J. Meriday, Baldwin resident. I just had a couple of things, but I definitely have to put on my Baldwin resident hat because we had a civic association meeting earlier, and a number of the residents are very concerned about the lack of any progress with the Baldwin development, or I should say lack of development project. And I did have a conversation, and I'm expecting to get some information from Commissioner Rotkamp. So as I was
we have been in contact with the Civic, and we're setting up a meeting.
You probably had a conversation with Baldwin Civic. Tonight was Baldwin Oaks Civic. We kind of predate Baldwin Civic, but I'm in touch with Karen, so
We'll be sure that every Civic gets reached out to.
hopefully, yeah, we definitely need to make sure that everyone, because we have a number of issues as far as code violations and the fact that that property is left relatively open. We have a number of properties on Grand Avenue that just have fences around them that we still don't quite understand what that situation is all about. And so it's a Pathmark project. It's the facility that used to be Ming's on the corner of Grand Avenue and Stanton, and the fencing around Second Baptist. We have some issues with that. But I am also concerned, again, with regard to contracts and how you've been quoted recently with regard to talking about increasing transparency and saying that this is kind of what residents have been requesting. And it still seems to me like the contracts, for one thing, are going to kind of the same businesses. And if we really want to talk about transparency, it would be nice if we know that the contract that's designated, if it is a service disabled or veteran-owned business, it should state that. If it's a minority or woman-owned business, it should state that. Again, that is what transparency in essence means to me. Since this township, nor does the county have any active, proactive, vital, or legal outreach or procurement in those avenues. And I know someone can say I keep bringing this up, but I'm hoping that somehow we may actually get into the 21st century, because this is 2018, as far as how we do that procurement. Working on a project now, and it didn't surprise me. According to the census, just in Nassau County, there are 11,000, I guess, self-proclaimed veteran-owned businesses. There are also 40,000 women-owned businesses and 43,000 minority-owned businesses. That's just in Nassau County. Nassau County has no benchmarking or tracking as to how many of those businesses that are diverse who are actually doing contracts. The town of Hempstead doesn't have that either. We pay all of this money for these things that are, you know, again, trying to be inclusive of residents, and we just don't seem to kind of include that. So that would be nice. I brought up some, I thought, very good ideas, and I think at one point even Councilman Dunn agreed with me, some ideas that I thought about doing some things. People are always saying, why don't you suggest something? I suggested stuff, and one, haven't seen any of it being implemented, except possibly some of the ideas that I know that Sylvia Cabana is doing. So it is nice to know that somebody is following up with that, but I haven't heard from anybody from over here, anyone who's paid. And you know, that illustrious meeting that I took time, and you promised and assured me that I would have time to meet with you and talk about some things, and you were in the room for all of about 5 minutes, and I met with Rebecca, and then subsequently Rebecca handed off the whole information to, I believe her name was Rosalind. I don't know, because I only had one brief conversation with her, and that was like 4 months ago. Haven't heard anything from her since. So I'm really, truly getting the feeling that there really isn't any genuine concern or consideration to do anything different within the veteran community than what's already been done. So for me, that is a campaign promise that has been broken, because we're now in the middle of June, and I'm just seeing the same thing. So I'm really concerned about that. And the last picture that I saw you in as far as publicity, I believe you were attending a ribbon cutting in Freeport for a pantry, and the fact that we have to celebrate opening pantries in this region that is supposed to be so prolific, and that, you know, we pay the second highest taxes. And again, according to the census, the median income is $102,000, and we're celebrating opening a pantry. That should speak volumes to the fact that we still have to address the zombie homes that are in crisis here. And I don't know what it's going to take to get people in this area that we're electing to do something different. I don't know what it's going to be, but I can keep hoping. So if you want us to try to have another meeting, and maybe you can be in the room with me longer than 5 minutes, let's try that. That could be a first step. Thank you.
Thank you, Mina. Okay, that concludes our public hearings. Everybody have a lovely evening.